Hi, Gladys. I'm good. Thank you so
Good,
much for having me.
great. So we're going to be talking to you about your journey so far and
Mhm.
how you are, or I perceive you different in terms of the career you've decided to embark on. So can you kindly tell me a bit about yourself?
Okay. Um, Hi, my name is Ayo. I'm Yoruba. I grew up in Lagos, Abuja, so many places. However, my interest to pursue a degree in aerospace law came from my interaction with my classmates during my undergrad. And one of my first major briefs I got when I got called to the bar, I was to register an airline and like a lawyer and certified person. I registered the company and the board of directors, found what I did quite impeccable. And they decided to hire my services to peruse a document for them, a lease agreement for an aircraft. And seeing the terminologies being used in the agreement, it was quite intriguing. Like, ooh, there's actually more to this space. And then because I love to read, and one of my tactics to reading is that I like to share what I read. So I started a blog, and the feedback I got from the blog was so incredible. And the amount of people that would message me on a daily basis to just inform me about how good it was, and just to ask me questions about my opinions on some things. So I found that the more I became intrigued about aviation law, the more I wanted to study and actually know what it was about. Then I decided to pursue a master's degree. And when I got to Leiden University for my master's, I became open to both aviation and space law. And since then, I've been working in both areas, and it's been quite a very good journey.
Interesting. Um, Apart from um, like having conversations with colleagues and also being in the space as well. What made you decide to study aviation law apart from the other ones you've mentioned as well?
I know I joke about it all the time,
I
but
actually I want
it's
to know
actually
more about that.
it's actually true. Um, I I don't take life seriously. However, God has been faithful to me that no matter the decisions I take or my approach, things just always work out good for me. Aviation law came as a result of having a conversation with a friend who, luckily for me, she's now pursuing a master's in aerospace like McGill.
Oh,
But
okay.
that conversation came as a result of she had gone to the CAA in Nigeria for a survey. She was writing a thesis in air pilots' medical state and negligence or something like that. And
Okay.
she just told me, "Oh, so I went to the CAA for a survey, and I bumped into some pilots, and in my head, things started ringing like, woo, girl, you gotta get married to a pilot." And so, like, I, in my infinite wisdom, thought that the best way to meet a pilot and get married to one was to, get into aviation law, because I was already my final year in school and having to tell my dad that I wanted to go for a private pilot license or become a commercial airline pilot was definitely out of the picture. So I decided to, pick up one or two books in aviation law. And then luckily for me, when the time came and I had to register an airline in Nigeria, I just, kind of melted all the ideas I had in my head. And I saw that, in fairness, there are actually there's more to aviation law. And yes, I've met quite a few pilots.
Mm.
Some have been very instrumental to my journey to being here, but no, I'm still not married to one. So, yeah.
Great. So, as someone that studied aviation law, aerospace law, which is a rare discipline, because you can actually count how many people that you come across that have studied such a course. What are the challenges you face or faced, and also the experience you've experienced and opportunities you've been privileged to actually come by your by whilst you
Mm. That's a very deep question because it makes me go into the depth of my soul and start thinking about, my journey here. But I would say this at the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned the fact that I'm Yoruba. And from my tribe, it's more of a communal thing. So I remember, actually deciding to study air and space law. And I got a call from one of my dad's lawyers, a very senior colleague, now is his son. And he called me into his office and advised me for about 4 hours on a Friday evening about how I could, still change my master's specialization and go into maritime or something more productive because he has had a bit of experience in advising the CAA or registering or filing for baggage claim. And honestly, he doesn't think aviation law is something that would be productive for me at the end of the day. So when I think about that journey, I'm thinking about coming to an European university where the system of education is different. Um, as a Black person, having a different educational system, you start struggling um, with finding a balance. And at a point, if your grades are not so good, start wondering, am I, about self-esteem and all of that. What do you think about that as well? And then you also think about the ending. Luckily or unluckily for my cohort, we graduated in the midst of a pandemic. So we're not lost to the fact that the aviation industry is in a chaotic state. People are losing their jobs and airlines are trying to stay afloat. So there are not enough jobs for those of us. But to be fair, my journey, in all these three stages, I've been quite lucky because I right from my time to finishing school, I co-founded an NGO in space law. I'm on a few boards of aviation safety management teams. I do some speaking. I'm currently employed. So I've been lucky. So really, I don't want to talk from a bubble and say these are the particular challenges that you will face. So I think it depends on your individual journey. No two persons' journey is the same.
yeah.
But yeah, I would say another challenge might be that we don't have any university in Nigeria who currently offers um, specialization in aviation law or space law. So if you want to pursue your passion for aviation or space law, you might have to leave the shores of the country to go to Canada, go to the Netherlands, or go to the US. And these are where there are three specifications of air and space law. And then you start battling with fees and you start battling with accommodation, so many things you will face as an international student. So I would say, but at the end of the day, the journey is really good because you get to meet you have quite a vast personal network. I have colleagues I can call up in ESR, in ESSA, in Canada, in JAXA. I can just call them up and ask them any question pertaining to any area. So that's one of the things so yes, you put in a lot of work, but you actually get the results.
Correct, right. So you would say success looks not not definite positive, but your success journey has been one that you've benefited through networking, through seeing opportunities and jumping to those opportunities as well, and also just putting yourself out there really.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm by my personality and nature, I'm quite opportunistic in nature because I believe the worst thing that can come out from taking an opportunity is having the other person say no.
Yeah.
And because you say no to you doesn't mean you shouldn't still person. I think I was having a conversation with you the other day about how I met Mrs. Adefunke
Yeah.
Ademi. And I know you mentioned the comment about how it's so hard to tell her that. But to be fair, in all honesty, I stalked her so much that she one day had to reply me like, gosh, who is this young lady? And but I haven't had to stalk every other person like that because I also know what I'm doing, and it's all about approach. And
Yeah.
if you're passionate and you really know what you're going to offer, so you also have to do the work. You also have to, be
Push.
adamant. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's been helpful.
So, what would you say about networking? What advantages have you gained by networking as well? Just expand on that because,
Ooh,
um,
networking.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
please.
you see a lot of young people and not really taking advantage of that. And personally, I feel like networking has actually pushed me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And um, and it's something that I feel we should actually sort of encourage, not
Hmm.
being like stocky, but just find a way to speak to people that know how to network and then maybe get their experience and
Hmm.
guidelines and then sort of start from there. But yeah, tell me, what do you think about networking? How should the next generation, what do you think the youth should start doing in terms of networking?
I would thank you. That's a very good question. I would start with the fact that as Africans, or maybe let me specify to what I know as a Yoruba lady, or as a Yoruba thing, our upbringing is one that we are taught to be timid,
Yeah.
to conform to status quo, no, don't ask questions, just be yourself and, stay in your lane.
Stick to the rule.
But exactly. But I was lucky enough to have parents who themselves were rebels.
Okay.
My dad, growing up, my dad would advise you, ask us questions, challenge us on things. He wouldn't smack you for being, big mouthed or anything. It would just, maybe caution you a bit, like, okay, you would actually disturbing, but it will actually call you later to ask you questions. And I look at myself and my siblings, and I know that we have almost the same traits. So why I make mention of that is because I am timid in nature because of the way my culture expects me to be. But you see, when it comes to using my phone or the power of social media, I am so good that if you met me on social media and you meet me in person, I am two different people. So, and how I've been able to use this is you place yourself in environments where the people that surround you or form your tabula rasa are people that have things to offer. Now, when we look at, I've worked in Nigeria, I have worked in the US, I've worked in Europe, and I see the culture of people. It's that, you see, when it comes to aviation transcends the all seven continents of the world, right? So in your imagination, it's a very big space. But to be fair, it's a very closed space because when I was working in Nigeria, the same people or the same names I knew who were quite relevant in Europe or in the USA are the people who I have as connections now. So there are people I can just call up on LinkedIn and say, hey, check this out, give your comments about this. And because we're lucky enough also as aviation specialists in the legal part of it, that we only have two major universities that offer aerospace law as a specialization. And the two of them actually have connections with each other. So you would have Professor Pablo going to teach in McGill, and you have Professor Brian coming to teach in Leiden, and you have some seminars, some conferences. We have the big aviation firms like Clyde and Co in the UK. We have Sarin and Co in India. We have some other ones, Perilini Studio, SMBC. All these people actually have some of our professors or some of our previous alumni who are on the board of this company. So what I try to do to immerse myself is I try to see them as these are my brothers and my sisters, you know. So I'm able to ask them a question and feel free. So networking definitely is very important. And I know there are quite a number of webinars and conferences about this, or lecture books, motivational speakers coming out and tell you have to network. I didn't know the power of social media up until the beginning of this year. I think in February, my school actually hosted a 2-day program to teach master students about using LinkedIn. I know I did not want to go to that class because I was just like, ugh. I've been on LinkedIn since LinkedIn happened. I couldn't even remember my mail or my password to it. I just didn't care because I was like, the people who are gonna help me are the ones I can see, you know. So I don't, and that's really, it's myopic. And I found out that since February till now, my network has increased massively. I met you via LinkedIn.
Yeah, we did.
Here we are now. And so many other people like Professor Adigun, you know, some colleagues from Space in Africa, some doctors, even my co-founder, Dr. Claire Nelson. She's very recognized. She's a Forbes 500 woman. I never knew anything about her until she sent me a message one day saying, I saw a video of you. Yeah, and that's another thing I was trying to say. I got an opportunity to talk about my university, and I took that up. I got about 2 endorsements from that. One of the foundation I currently work with, Aviation, saw that video, and immediately the CEO was so intrigued, looked for an alumni of my school who knew me and asked him to introduce me to him. And you see the power of networking, especially in this industry. You need that network.
Yeah.
Just, you need to be in the forefront of it because you can't be at the back. Otherwise, you're just going to be, I don't know, filing for delays or baggage claim. And then you start saying that aviation is not so big because you personally have not taken the steps to see bigger than what has been offered to you.
Great, great, great. Like, literally, I've learned a lot just talking to you right now. So, you've not mentioned properly your school, the school you've attended for your master's. Can you tell me more about it, about the school, and
Yes,
what advice would you give people that would want to study aerospace law?
well, I attended the Institute of Aerospace Law at University Leiden. We can also say Leiden University in the Netherlands. It's a school founded in 1575, so it's quite old. We've had a series of alumni from here. We have some big names in the aviation industry who've attended here. The current president of AirCap, it's a very big aviation finance and leasing industry, comes from here. So we're very proud, you know, of our records, and we have so many people doing, because it's an international focused group, and you have an advanced LLM. It's not just a master. So when I tell my colleagues that I'm not you guys' mates because I am an advanced master. So please just respect the fact that there's an advanced in front of my name. And so luckily around that time as well, because I'll tell you, I'm quite opportunistic. Luckily around that time, I got a scholarship for a diploma in aircraft finance and leasing at the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University
Yeah, I
in
was
the
gonna
US.
ask you a question about that.
Yeah, so that was very big for me. And it was very difficult to pair it with my schoolwork here because it was full time. But when I got my certificate sent to me and I saw my name written in bold letters, it felt so good.
From Embry-Riddle, really? Yeah, of course. Of
It
course,
felt
of
so
course.
good. It paid off.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, great.
that was what I did.
Great, great, great. So, you did mention about the pandemic, obviously. For someone that is considering venturing into our industry, aviation, aerospace, how should they prepare themselves following the crisis? What advice do you have for them?
Hmm. I would say that airlines are reinventing themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are lawyers. We are definitely going to need lawyers. Engineers, pilots, maybe might, be a bit shaking about their status, but
Yeah.
as lawyers, there are an immense amount of work waiting for us, and I'm currently having, to battle in one right now. We have airlines trying to escape contractual obligations under lease agreements.
Mm.
We have some MROs not fulfilling their task. We have government, on airlines about keeping up to safety and security standards. We have international best practices through the minimum standards and recommended practices from the ICAO. We have IATA regulations and guidelines to protect consumers and airlines alike. If you are in Europe, for instance, you also have the EU 261 protection passenger rule.
Mm.
Internationally, you have the Montreal Convention. So you
Yeah.
have so many things to do as a lawyer. Don't be shaken by pandemic or crisis happening. The airspace are open now.
Mm.
All the best. We have national guidelines as to flight measures to prevent coronavirus. It's something you can take up from a constitutional law aspect. It's there's there's just married things to do here, and my desk is so full to the brim. And every day I go into my office, I'm just like, where do I start from? But this, so I would say the coronavirus or any other pandemic that's going to happen has nothing to do with you.
Mm.
There is work. Airlines are looking for lawyers, and they're going to keep looking for lawyers. So it might seem like now it's a bit slow and nothing is happening, but you're relevant. So all you need to do is prepare yourself so that when it's time to take on the mantle, you're fully equipped mentally and academically. So that's what I'm saying.
Great. So during your journey, have you had mentors, career coaches? Um, because you notice that a lot of young girls um, lack confidence
Mm,
because you go for a conference and you ask a question. Most times, it's the men that are actually standing up really to answer the questions. So,
mm,
during your journey or through your journey, have you had female mentors, one, and two, have you had mentors? And
mm,
what advice would you give um, females that want to be aviation lawyers, aerospace lawyers, and just females in general?
mm. Phew. Like, I would make mention again of my background. I was taught to question everything.
Mm,
So I do not believe that you should restrict yourself to a gender, for self-development.
mm,
I have both male mentors, I have female mentors. I've been lucky enough to have them in general practice of law, to have mentors in engineering, to have mentors in pharmacy. So for me, it's about what can I benefit from you, and how are you going to help me towards my overall mission in life.
mm,
So, but yes, in aviation, I've been lucky to have about three mentors now, two male and one female. It's the pandemic, obviously, they don't really have a lot of time for me. And another thing I'm also going to mention is you have to have mentors that actually have your time, that keep up with you, study what you're doing, and are making sure that you are right. Um, I mentioned Miss Adeyemi. She was quite instrumental as to writing my final thesis because it was concentrated in the African Union certain project.
yeah.
She actually gave me quality time to review some things with me. In space law, I've had Timmy Biaganaba, DCL. I have had Motolani Fadaunsi, who luckily is also from here. She did a master's in Light University, and my professor just called me and said, "Oh, have you?" And that's another opportunity of studying here, another advantage. She just called me and said, "Do you know this lady? I should introduce you." And then she introduced us, and because we're both Nigerians, we love this flu. And so she had very long, extensive conversation with me about marriage, childhood, career, how you perceive yourself as a female. Also, when it comes to the male aspect, I've had my men classes when I was in my first year. It's, some of my friends find it very stupid when I say that I never had a summer break in uni, because I went to a private university and we would have this 4-month summer break. And right from my first year in uni, I got an internship. So for every year in school, when I had that 4 months break, I took an internship. So I worked with various law firms, and luckily for me, I was able to call one of my former principal father. So he's also been very instrumental for me throughout my university life, my service year, my master's. It was very good for me. Like, he would call me, encourage me. There were days, to be fair, when I came here, because of the educational system, because of the difference in it, it was it was very emotional for me that I expected to graduate with a particular degree, and it just seemed like it was shaky, it wasn't going to happen. And I would call him and he would reassure me, "You're very brave, you're courageous, you even took up this, you did that." And that was very important. So yes, you need to find mentors. People say I'm mature. For my age, I don't know how true that is. But I still needed mentors. I needed people to always check me. Are you doing the right thing? Because if you depend that you're not an island. So, and the very moment you start to act like be fair, you really don't know. Nobody stops learning until they are dead. And so for every day that I've had to interact with them, send them questions about this, there have been something new I've learned. I also made my professors here. They were not mentors per se, but they were people I could walk up to and ask them questions. Am I doing this right? My first assignment was very horrible for me because the writing technique was so different. The referencing style was different as well.
Yeah.
When that professor gave me an almost fail mark, I walked up to him, scheduled an appointment, and I had him tutor me for 2 hours into how to write, what he expected in writing. So I also call that mentorship. And yeah, you need mentors. You need people to help you. You can't do it alone. The aviation industry is a small one. So any mistake you make, kind of affects your progression or the otherwise of it. So you choose you or path and what you want to be known for.
Great. So if anyone wants to reach you, read your blog that you mentioned, how can they do that?
Oh yes, you can reach my blog. It's a very long name, so sorry. I
Okay, well, I
try
think
to
we'll put that down somewhere.
paraphrase it, but I just never. So I got the mindset to just write something about more to space than air.
Okay.
So it's www.moretospace-than-air.com. Yeah, so it's more to space. There's more to space. There's so much more to space than air. You can also reach me on my LinkedIn. Ayomide Jide Omole. Ayomide Jide Omole. You can also reach me by my Gmail, jideomoleay@gmail.com. I think that's all the social media platform I use, but I use them effectively.
Yeah.
And they're on the ones.
Great. So it was really nice talking to you. I've really
Thank
learned
you
a
so
lot,
much. I
and
enjoyed this session.
I'm hoping that anyone that stumbles on this video, um, obviously will learn something from your insight about aviation law, aerospace law, and would love to know more about what you do. So thank you very much for
Thank
taking
you
the
so much for
time.
having me. I'm very blessed
Thank
to have
you.
had someone who wrote about engaging the next professionals in Africa. It was a very good read, I must say, because
Oh,
I
thank
actually
you.
showed it to Mrs. Adefunke, and she was quite impressed about it. Like you rightly mentioned, when it comes to the female empowerment or the female training, some of the key issues you highlighted in that paper. And even though it seems like, I'm sorry for taking time, but I just needed to, people to really know that the person who interviewed me is in herself, a grandmom in this field. And you said something about having some foundations and some organizations helping to shaping the next people. And this is just a call to action. There are so many people who have platforms to, cause a change. So yes, it might seem like there is a lot that is being done, but not enough is being done. Africa lags behind in so many things. And where we have countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Mauritius, we have them really advancing in aviation. I feel like that's a call to action. Also, aviation is on the agenda of the AU to integrate Africa. So it's something we all can look into. It's a very productive space. So, we need to all come together and make sure that something is working out in this field. So thank you so much for having me. You guys should pick up that and read it. I'm sure a link, to have us read is really good.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.